So you clicked on this video because you just purchased your brand new drone and you have no idea how to fly. Well, not to fear, in this video, I'm gonna break it down for an absolute beginner. In this video, I'll be using the DJI Mini 3 Pro, but the steps that I'll be showing you will apply to any drone, basically. Now, if you're wondering why you should listen to me, my name is Dane Visuals and I'm a content creator from Jamaica who's been flying drones for over 6 years. So without further ado, let's begin. All right, so now that we have our drone, the first thing we're gonna do is find a safe place to take off. Now, normally I try to find a flat surface, but honestly, we're at the beach, there's not much flat surfaces here. So I don't advise this for beginners, but if you do have a bit of experience, you can take off from your hand. So again, we're using the DJI Mini 3 Pro, which is a fairly small drone, so it's not that hard to take off from your hand. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn on my controller. The controller is on, and then I'm gonna turn on my drone by double tapping and holding down. So now that we have our drone and our controller on, I'm just gonna use the auto launch function that is on the drone itself. So I'm just gonna hold it out away from my body. Gonna press the button to the left and then hold down. All right, and now our drone is in the air. Now you have your drone on, I'm just gonna teach you guys about the basic layout. So the drone controller has two sticks. We have our left stick and our right stick. So pretty much most drone pilots are going to be flying their drone on mode 2. And all mode 2 means is that on your left stick, it's gonna control your rotation as well as ascending and descending. And on your right stick, it's gonna push the drone forward, backwards, and left and right. So pretty much on the left stick, which we're gonna go through the left stick first, if you push the left stick upwards, the drone is gonna ascend. So when you want to go up in the air, you press the left stick to go up into the air. When you want to descend, you go down on the left stick. And then if you want to rotate the drone, to rotate into another direction, you can either rotate left or you can rotate right. All right, that is the left stick on the drone controller when you're in mode 2. On the right stick, if you push it forward, you're gonna go forward with your drone in whichever direction that you're facing. If you go back, then it's gonna go back in whichever direction you're facing. If you go left, it's gonna push left based on which direction you're facing. And if you push right, it's gonna push right based on which direction you're facing. So if all that is a lot to understand in one go, just remember that the left stick is for rotation and ascending and descending, and the right stick is actually what pushes the drone in a particular direction. Now that you have an idea as to how that works now, the last thing I'm gonna touch on is the gimbal. So on the Mini 3 Pro control that I have here, the gimbal is controlled with a wheel right here. This is the left wheel. So pretty much when I push the wheel down, I'm gonna tilt my gimbal downwards. And when I push the gimbal, the control wheel here up, it's gonna tilt the gimbal upwards. So all of these combined together is what's gonna give you all your moves when you're flying your drone. So pretty much all you do when you're flying your drone is just picking a particular direction that you want to go in, focusing on a subject, and then maneuvering around it. So let's say we see this boat right here, right? So I see this boat right now, and I wanna get a shot of the boat. Let me just go ahead and turn up my shutter so it's a little bit more exposed. And I see this, and I wanna go forward. So if you wanna catch the boat that's right there, all you have to do is you just push forward on your drone, push forward on the right stick. As you can see, I am going towards it. Simple motion, I'm just using one stick, which is the right stick, and pushing forwards. That's an example of a shot. Now let's say that you want to go around it, right? I want to do a orbit. Now an orbit is a complicated movement because you're not just moving in one direction, you're moving in two directions. Because to orbit around something, you have to both go to one direction as well as turn slightly. So to do that, you're gonna have to combine both sticks. So imagine that to do an orbit, you're gonna basically push right on the right stick and you're gonna push left on the left stick. And that's gonna do this thing where it's like you're doing this. So let me just show you on the drone itself. So I'm gonna actually just record this as well on the drone so you guys can get that shot. So I'm pretty much orbiting. I have to do it very slow. A slow, consistent movement. If you do things on the drone too fast, it's not gonna look very, cinematic. So as you can see, I'm going to the right, but I'm also rotating to the left. And that's how you spin around something. So that is a more complicated movement, and that is gonna give you an example of combining both controls to get a different kind of shot. Now there's lots of movements you can do. There's a lot more simpler movements. For instance, I could push up on the left stick to go up in the air. I can ascend, and then I can also push down on the gimbal control wheel, which is gonna allow the gimbal to descend. So I'm gonna record that as well. So I'm pushing up on the left stick to ascend the drone into the air, and I'm pushing down on the control wheel of the gimbal. So as I'm going up, I'm then gonna start looking down on the boat. And you try to combine both movements at the same time, and this helps to give you a quote-unquote cinematic style movement. You're just basically combining two moves. You don't even have to do multiple directions. So for instance, there's this cliff right here. All you have to do is just push forward. So I'm not using multiple controls right now. I'm just pushing forward. This is an example of a really nice shot. What makes drone shots nicer is when it is a consistent movement in whether one or multiple directions. So just pushing the drone forward right now is making it very cinematic. I'm not doing a bunch of stuff. It's not complicated, it's not hard. I'm just going in one direction. So yeah, this is an example of a nice shot that's pretty easy. It's literally just me pushing up the control stick. And if I want to get creative, I can also do a try and orbit. It's going to be a little bit harder to orbit around a bigger object, but I can try and orbit by pushing to the right. Then while I'm pushing to the right, slowly pushing to the left on the left stick. And this is how you combine movements. So work your way up to slowly combining movements. It's a subtle art. It's not something that you're going to get immediately. But honestly, as you can see, it's pretty simple. All you're doing is moving the left, the right stick, and the control wheel. And that is pretty much how you fly your drone. So point of advice for beginners out there, I'm going to suggest to you that when you're just getting started with flying your drone, go out into an open field. Right now I'm at the beach, but the beach might not be the best place for beginners because the drones sometimes behave a little bit haywire over water. Also, you want to go somewhere where there's not lots of distractions, lots of people. A nice open field where you're the only person there might be the best place for you to actually try and fly your drone. So I'm going to recommend that for beginners. Also, I'm going to advise for you to have a spotter. That way, if you're flying and you can't see what you're doing because you're focusing on the shots, that way you can have someone to help you out while you're doing that. So that's going to be essential for you guys if you're just getting started, because you know I might take some risks here or there because I've been flying drones for quite some time. But if this is your first time, I really think it's best for you to just kind of play it as safe as possible.